You're gonna introduce it, right?
Sure.
Sure.
Are either you guys on water?
Streets.
Good morning and welcome to the Street Sanitation Airport Committee. This morning we have City Attorney Jensen, Public Works Director Troy Kruger, Councilman Hockett and Councilman Clay, and Streets and Sanitation Superintendent Kelly Duffy. All yours.
Well, sanitation budget, it's hanging in there. Looks like we're gonna make it through the end of the year. Streets budget's gonna make it easily. We've been working on 2024. I usually get my bids out for projects like right around the first of the year, so this year we're gonna shoot for mill and overlay,
Nope.
a chip seal, and a curb and gutter project. Not necessarily in that order. So, we've looked at streets that really have to be fixed this next year. We've got 6th Street, 3rd Street, 2nd Street, 3rd and Taft, 3rd and Taft, 2nd and Taft, 3rd and Taft east over to by East Park. West A Street, we got a section of West A Street that's really bad. It's got a really large area that's just sinking completely on it. East Park from 6th to, where did we go? Basically 6th Street, basically 6th
All the way
Street
down to Lincoln.
from Maine to Washington. That street's really, all of our manholes and valve boxes have really sunk drastically in that street. It's just, it's not a good street to drive right now.
6th Street from where?
Main
From
Street.
Maine east
Maine over Washington.
to Washington. And then 6th Street down here from Lamb Row to about Taft, or East Park Street. That portion had the city had to go back, it was before my time, I think it was in like 2014 or 15, they went in there and replaced sewer main, and they cut the street, they had to take about 10 feet out of the street there, and so they just laid it back in with some asphalt, but it's gotten pretty bad. It's really busted up bad. Those are streets that, for mill and overlay, that we drove the whole town. Those are the ones that we felt like were really need to be addressed sooner than later. There are a couple more things that and you know, I guess we'll take the council's advice, but those streets need to be fixed, and after that, that's not going to use up all of our money. We have $600,000 appropriated for 2024 for mill and overlay. We got $100,000 for curb and gutter. We got $50 for chip sealing, and then our miscellaneous concrete's $55,000. So I mean, we do have some money we have some projects. We also looked at Monroe out front here.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you about that. I didn't hear this one here.
From 1st to 2nd, and then 2nd to 4th. And I got pricing from several different entities. It's what we pay for milling when we do the asphalt streets is we pay $2 a square yard. We can do the same process with concrete streets, we can mill off 2 inches and put 2 inches of asphalt back on it. And I called 3 different entities, 3 different companies to get prices on that. And they charge anywhere from $8 to $10 a square foot, or square yard, excuse me. So the milling's quite a bit more expensive, but you're not talking about a lot of tonnage when it comes to the asphalt. So there's kind of a trade-off. The only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about on those 2 streets is on the west side of the street, there's no gutter. The parking areas are above the street, so everything runs down to the street itself, all the way down that stretch. So we'd probably have to go in and have a valley gutter put in to run the water, so.
Are you talking from First to Second?
It's same down there.
But you need it up here as well, from
Yep.
Second to Fourth?
Yep. So, we have to do a little figuring on that. I'm gonna take Jake's recommendations on that. He's coming up on Wednesday. We're gonna look at that project and see what he recommends to do. If he's seen it in other communities or whatever, but yeah, it's not gonna work very well to run that water on that asphalt between the concrete and so maybe he'll say it's okay, I don't know. The other one, the other area that's up for consideration, I guess, or discussion, would be the new Britton addition. We've got another home being built out there. That gutter's been sitting there for 2 years now, so don't want to leave it sit too much longer without putting a street in there so that we're not compromising the gutter. That would be strictly just tonnage there. So that's gonna, I think there's a possibility of doing the streets that we have on our list, plus Monroe, maybe. Monroe's gonna be a little bit more expensive. But we could do the streets on our list plus Britton addition. Our curb and gutter, there's a couple areas where we'd like to see curb and gutter put in. Number 1 would be that to tie Britton addition into Plum Street. That it's been, we've discussed that multiple times. So that's one area, and then there's another area way out south on 14th Street where that never got finished. And it's where it hooks onto the service road way out there on 14th Street out there by Golden Prairie Manor, the next street to the south. That there's a culvert, and I don't know why, for some reason they just didn't finish the curb and gutter out there. So it comes so far off the service road, and then it goes way back up by the first residence there. And so that portion of curb and gutter and that never got asphalted. It's just got some millings in there with some chip seal over it. It's just a blotter road right there. It doesn't, so that needs to be finished. So, those are the 3 areas that we're looking at. Biggest concerns, Monroe's
The main one?
really getting worse every year. It's really starting to move.
It's high traffic. There's a lot of traffic on that side.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a highly visible street.
We kind of focused on that first.
There's heavy trucks going up and down it every day because they come off of Main Street and down.
Delivery or what?
Yep.
Any questions about that stuff? Any comments on it? I mean, I guess like I said, Jake's coming up Wednesday. We're gonna try and put a price together for Monroe. I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal. He's gonna recommend kind of what we were talking about, putting a valley gutter in there to run the water.
When you're talking Britton addition, I assume that the quote temporary surface that's in there, you leave that there and put your blotter on top of that?
So far, we've just had millings in there, and we packed millings in there, level with the curb. you know, I don't think we would probably do anything different if we don't do anything with those streets this year, other than just after winter, we'll go back in there and, you know, put some more millings on there. The traffic helps pound the, you know, pack the millings in, and but even if you put a blotter, if you turn that into a blotter, you're not really doing anything from keeping my biggest concern there is between whatever we put in there for material and the gutter. Once that moisture gets on, you know, if the moisture starts getting underneath the gutter and then and then it freezes, it'll start moving that gutter around.
Sure.
So we need to get that sealed up one of these years. Yeah, there is a new house going up out there, so starting to get a little activity out there.
Good.
I mean, we don't want to let it go too much longer. It definitely needs to be done here in the next couple of years, but like I said, we have a handful of streets that really have to have something done to them. They're busted up really bad.
The curb and gutter's all done out there?
Yeah.
I've written it in.
Yes.
Well, unless you hook it onto Plum.
Well, yeah, that area.
But the development is done.
Yep.
Yes.
We got the power lines out of the road out there on Plum.
Yep.
They're all done with that. They've moved the pole. I haven't been out there for a while.
The what?
Yeah. curb
Plum Street, the power's done out there.
Oh, yeah.
pole.
Yeah, the utilities are all underground out there. The water's done, sewer's done.
Talked about that.
We've talked.
Drainage,
Yeah.
but that was just talk.
We've talked about
So-
multiple times about being able to straighten that curb and gutter out, and I'll ask Jake again what he thinks about it, but if it's possible, and
I was told once we weren't gonna open Plum up until the drainage had been fixed going south. Have you done all that? You haven't done that yet, have you?
no,
No.
Yeah. Cause you said it won't handle the water coming from,
it'll jump
Right.
the curb there.
yeah.
I see that the governor's announced another 25 million for the water and sewer projects and whatnot that would be available the coming year. I'm wondering if that would help
Unknown
us
caller.
deal with the runoff problem and the storm sewer in that area, if we could apply for that.
In the past, those ARPA funds haven't been available for storm sewer. It's only been for
Actual sewer.
sewer and water.
Oh, okay.
So, but that doesn't mean that the rules haven't changed.
Yeah.
I heard that this weekend too, and then I saw your email. I haven't done a ton of research into it.
I just read the one story is all, but
Yeah.
I thought it said something about storm sewer, but I could be wrong.
And it might.
Yeah.
I'll look into it for you.
Yeah.
And that was a concern when we do that street to keep flooding out a few houses there. I know that.
And the-
It's getting closer, the project anyway. That's what he's trying to say.
I see the sanitation fund revenue was setting at 86%, is that right?
Yes and no.
Okay,
The problem with, and we are working to fix this for 2024. You'll notice the first line up there is estimated cash balance of 326,000. Because it was cash, I can't move it into the cash as receipted revenue. So technically you're sitting at like 100% once you consider that you've already received that 326,000.
so these numbers mean nothing. Okay.
That's your actual revenues received.
Do if you understand the behind the scenes wrangling. then
I'm
they
sorry.
Then they come into there.
Yeah, so the plan is, and sanitation is the one department I do believe that it has in 2024 plan to use cash. What the goal is to move what the cash is that they're going to use, move it into a liability account, and then once January 1st hits, I can remove it from the liability account and technically receipt it into the cash account, so then it shows in your bottom line. That's the plan, that somebody will walk me through how to do. Because we've not done it here before. I can tell you that the cash is there, it's been spent, all of that. It's just unfortunately with our current system, the way we have done it for years, it doesn't work very well. So we're working on changing it.
So the fiscal activity is what we've actually received then.
Yes.
So the collection fees, that 615, is that going to exceed the 650 by the end of the year?
It'll be really close. I would say most likely, yes, it will exceed it, but. And that collection fees is 100% just what's on the utility bills. So your $19.50, your $30, that doesn't include the $5, so $5 technically, nope, that does include the $5, excuse me, so. Did you want to talk about the resolution?
No, well, I got other stuff. So, one of the other things that, I'm gonna just hop over to, you said about the grant, another $25,000. Jake and I are aware of it, and we've talked about it. What we're gonna try and do this year is we're gonna try and put a list of projects together that he needs to go, whenever there's federal grant money available, people just think, oh, well, let's apply for this money. There's a big sweaty wad of cash out there and we get our share of it. That's not how it works. All of those, so if we would submit a project, number one, it's gotta be approved by a certified engineer, so that money's, that's the process of even applying for it, is to have a project that's already been engineered and it's ready to go. So yes, we need to put a couple of those projects on the shelf so that we can pull them down. One of them that we've talked about is 7th Street sidewalk, to fix that, make that a wider sidewalk. There's a couple different programs out there. There's some water and sewer projects that we would like to get, I'm not 100% sure. We've talked about this, we've talked about it with various engineers, and we still don't have a, ironclad idea of what we want to do, but it's our force main from the well field all the way into town. That would be a project that we'd want to, maybe pull down off the shelf if some of these, if there's a big lump sum of grant money that's available, that we could do some of that stuff. There is a ton of money out there with this administration they kind of went all at lead and copper. And so we're in the process of that right now, and our water department is identifying all of our lead services in the city. And the state just got on board with this. They've got a program that's out there, and we had to submit all of our information last year. So the streets wise though, we've got several areas that could be candidates for that. We have some drainage issues from 44 through that Tree Street addition back there. That would be a really good candidate for a drainage project. So, but when it comes to the grant money, it's not just apply for a bunch of grant money and then they send you a check. You got to have a project. It's got to be engineered. So we do need to have, that's kind of a goal for this year, is get 3 or 4 of those projects and get them all, get Jake to put his stamp on them, get them on the shelf, so that if we can start applying for some of this money, or the thing about it, the other thing to realize is that most of those grants are 50-50 matches. So if you ask for $2 million, then you better have $2 million ready to go in your budget to do that project. So not all are, but a lot are. The DOT project, we gave them our final check sheet, our punch list. We had a couple of valve boxes on there, residential curb stop boxes that we couldn't get on, so they're aware of that. We have one manhole that we have installed, and they're aware of that. So we still are holding our final payments around $30,000. Then we'll have some other payments on top of that to complete the project. They are pushing really hard on the state side. I don't think they're gonna get everything completed this year though, so we'll probably be dragging that into 2024. Talked to a company, Bros Engineering, about our chip seal. Talked to Jacob about it. Jacob thought it was a really good idea. We should probably join up for it. Bros Engineer puts together a chip seal project. It's called a community chip seal, and they go around and they get so much from this town, so much from this town, so much from this town, so that they can put a bigger bid together and then give you a better price for what so as a bigger project as a whole, they get more bidders and the price, and they bid more competitively that way. So we're looking into that, getting some prices from them on some chip seal. The only thing about the chip seal, I did ask them, they don't fog coat. We'd have to do that. That would be extra. So we did some fog coating in winter. The last couple times we did chip seal, and it really seemed like it was well worth the money. It helps retain the chips a lot longer. It's a better looking product when it's done, but it really seals the street up nicely. That's kind of it for streets. Out in the sanitation department, we have figured out through trial and error that we can really load that trailer up pretty darn heavy.
Too heavy.
Too heavy. So we've had to really watch how much garbage we put in it. He's got that track hole back there, and he's packing it in, and he can get it pretty heavy. He can get it, so it's just got 2 axles in the rear end. So we got to stay, around that 80,000 pounds. Well, he can get it quite a bit heavier than that. So I called up the people that we bought the trailer from, and I think it's going to be beneficial for us to put another axle underneath there. It's going to cost us probably about $10,000, but if you look at how much garbage that we're getting every time we haul that trailer, we can put another 3 or 4 ton on it. We don't have to pull it down the road as often. That should pay for itself. But plus the fact that if we do get pulled over going heavy, the fine's gonna be pretty good. So we don't have a scale. That's the tricky part. So Travis is getting a pretty good feel. He looks at the weights when they come back from Pequanna, and then he's got a pretty good idea how he needs to fill that trailer. So he's gotten it down to where he's got a pretty good idea. He's doing a good job with that. But if we can get some extra weight on there and it saves us 2 trips a month, it's well worth the money. So that we're looking at ordering parts for that, and then our contract with Ingle Trucking, the current contract is up on December 31st. So
And
we've got
a quote from them.
Yep, I went around and got 4 verbals from the other trucking entities in town, and all of them declined to even get a bid on it. They're not interested in it, so Dean gave us the same numbers as that he used last year. The conversation that I had with him, he said that when he gave us those numbers last year, fuel was up quite a bit. Right now, fuel's down quite a bit from what it was then, so he was comfortable going with the same numbers.
So I do need you both to approve to send that to full council so that we can get a new contract effective January 1st.
The only comment Dean had was, why do you
We're
keep...
overloading them so much.
No, he said, why do you keep going 6 months with this thing? Why don't you just give me a year contract? And I explained to him that we're gonna go through apply for a grant through the state, and as part of that grant, it would be a truck to help to pull that trailer up and down the road. So he's, yep, oh, okay, I get it. Fine with that. That is all I have.
Speaking of that grant, need council to approve to send a resolution to full council to approve applying for the grant. I have a punch list of things that I have to send to District 3 that we have to submit to them. Ultimately, it'll be quotes of everything that we're asking for. Last year's financials, our last audited year, all the normal things that we have to submit, but ultimately there has to be a resolution from full council stating that you are authorizing the submission of the grant. It's technically due the middle of January, so we need to get it on for the next council meeting so that we have time to get it submitted with all the information and work with District 3 to get all of that, so.
Okay, there will be a list in the packet of everything that we're applying for in the grant.
Yep, as long as I get the list, then yes, there will be. Then airport, there's a couple things with the airport. First thing is we had a project in 2022 called the airport pavement maintenance. It's been long enough that everything's set, the concrete's good, they came back this year and seeded all the grass and everything, so Helms sent a notification last week that they would like to close out that project. They're signing off on it, so full council has to approve for the mayor to sign off on the closeout project. So we'll be doing that. And then secondly, Dave has requested to come to executive session with council to discuss his contract one last time before January 1st so that council can approve it. For the most part, everything in there is golden, and you guys have approved everything and he's approved everything. There's just one little section in there that discusses hayland and hay bales.
Of course.
That he would like some clarification on the contract for, and we'll know more information after tomorrow's election too. So he would definitely like that discussed during executive session, and then from there, hopefully approve the contract for January 1st. So if it's not effective January 1st, he's not overwhelmingly upset by that. It's a $50 per month increase for him. But it would be nice for my accounting purposes if we kept it the same all year long. So hopefully we can come to an agreement. Again, tomorrow makes a big difference for everything, but.
Okay.
Getting a lot of head nods, so.
Yep, getting head nods. Yep. Gotta do what we gotta do.